What up, what up, what up? This is Mike, the philosopher, here with another one. This one is an interview from Sabrina Soul, okay? And this one is what she labeled the toxic twins, Jeffrey and Morgan, okay? This is probably the last thing I'm gonna do on Ready to Love for this season, but I had to get this one out and do this one because this one is the title says it all, the toxic twins, okay? So without judgment, let's see what they say. Let's go in.
Okay. I ain't going to watch them. I bet you will show up. Okay. Shout out to you guys in the chat. Y'all already have the chat live. I appreciate you so much. Shout out to my soulmate family. I appreciate you so much. It is 64 of you watching as of right this second. I know the numbers are going to go up, but if you have not liked this video yet, definitely take the time to click that thumbs up. If you are new here, welcome back to my channel. Definitely subscribe. Make sure you click that black notification bell so every time I upload anything or I go live, you will be the first to know. Tonight, I am here with the toxic twins, Morgan and Jeffrey, honey. And tonight, it's not...
You notice how they take pride in that name? The toxic twins? They love it. Smiles on the face. Now, this is hilarious. Listen, first let me say shout out to Sabrina. I always thought she was an attractive woman. I thought Walter hit the jackpot when he got her. I always looked at her as some kind of regal queen, okay? Until I found out she was pretty much head of the sisterhood. She Let me explain something, ladies. There are two types of women. There are two types of women. Girls, and men, girls. Men love men, girls. Men do not like girls. What do I mean by that? Well, when girls is the sisterhood. Sisterhood is a real thing. And it screams feminism. It screams uncooperation. It screams problems, toxicity, which they are very proud of, smiles on the face. It screams dysfunction. It screams breakups, divorce. It screams narrowing their hair. It screams out entitlements, 3 kids, and you got to deal with that and don't. It screams out a bunch of stuff that men do not want to go through. Okay? That's what the sisterhood embodies. And, you know, I just want women to realize this because I love y'all. Men love y'all. Men love women. Y'all the best. You my favorite. Okay? But at the same time, I know which ones to choose from and which ones not to choose from. And I particularly don't care for the sisterhood women, the girls, because they're going to always have each other back. They're all going to stay toxic, and they're all going to do this feminist thing that is not healthy for relationships. Now, again, love Sabrina, okay? But Sabrina is actually the head of the sisterhood. When she left Walter at that decision, she got lots of love from her sisterhood community. I'm not surprised that Morgan and Jeffrey decided to do an interview with her because Sabrina, is wearing the crown of sisterhood. So what better place to go than to her? They're not going to go to Simone. Simone is not part of the sisterhood. Made it very clear. Actually, her and Jeffrey got a little bit of beef. They're not going to go to Sue Ann's channel. Sue Ann is not part of the sisterhood. Who else can they go to for this interview? Some say Kojo, some say Kamisha speaks, or, but no, there's no better sisterhood representative than Sabrina. So that's why they're here. Now, again, I don't dislike Sabrina. I understood her reasoning for her decision making with Walter. Turns out Walter is doing just fine with the other Sabrina number 2. Shout out to them. Because they're a couple now. That was funny. But without further ado, let's go in with the review. This is a sneak peek at a sisterhood meeting, and I'd like to see what is said. Let's go.
About me interviewing them, because I know y'all done seen their interviews, and guess what? Everybody's asking the same questions. Well, the questions I'm going to be asking tonight are your questions. I put up a post saying any questions that you have for the ladies, DM me the information. I've seen some questions on the comment sections, on the Facebook groups, everywhere, on Instagram. So I'm here to ask them your questions. If you guys did not get a chance to put those questions in my DM and you want them to know and see and ask them tonight, it's going to have to be a super chat. I'm not putting the comments on the screen. If you want your questions directly on the screen tonight, you have to do a super chat in order for that to happen. But let's move on and let's move forward and let's give a warm welcome to these beautiful ladies. We have Jeffrey beside me, and then we have Morgan underneath. Huge shout out to you girls. Excuse me, ladies. Thank you so very much for joining me tonight. I appreciate you being here. Thank you. You guys look beautiful as always. Honey face cards never decline.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you, dear. Thank you.
More than welcome. More than welcome. I know with the show, I have done panel reviews. I have done live watch parties. I'm not sure if you guys actually seen any of them that I've done. And I know Morgan and Jeffrey had my emotions going on a roller coaster. But at the end of the day, and I've always said this through all the seasons that I've done panels with, I've always said, as long as you show up as your true self, I'm gonna love you. The good, the bad, and the ugly. That's just the type of person I am. I accept people for exactly who they are. And so you ladies ready to get started?
Ready.
Let's do it. I'm ready for all y'all questions. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm not going to ask you about your background. I'm not going to ask you where you come from, where you grew up. That's not what this is about. This is about the fans' questions. So the very first question I have for you, so what I'm going to do is I have the 2 questions I'm about to ask you now, and then I have separate questions for Jeffrey, and then I have separate questions for Morgan, and then I have questions that they asked for both of you ladies to answer together.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. The very first question is why they name themselves the Toxic Twins? Did they give themselves that name? I just don't understand. Where did they get their name from? So that's the very first question.
Listen, we are genuinely positive ladies. So you guys only get like 15% of who we are. So if what you guys see on the screen is toxic, we're going to capitalize. We're toxic, whatever. However, we're not going to argue with you guys about what you guys think. So you have to get to know people.
Morgan?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like y'all gonna call us that anyway, so I might as well make a joke out of it. You gotta have some really thick skin to sign yourself up for TV. So basically lemonade from lemons, so I'm not toxic. I know who I am. I have issues just like everybody else, but toxic ain't one of them. So it's just all in good fun, guys. It really is.
Yeah.
So where did you come up with the name the Toxic Twins?
I mean, again, it's just one of those things. It's not like like Morgan just said, piggybacking off of her, you guys are going to create your own things anyway, which, that's kind of what's happening. So you guys get an opportunity to now ask everything you want tonight. Yeah.
I think a part of them knows that they're toxic. You're not going to call yourself something that you don't think that you are. I would never call myself broke Mike because I'm not broke. I would not call myself crazy Mike because I'm not crazy. But what I do believe, I will call myself. I consider myself Mike the philosopher. Why? Because I philosophize. I'm not to be dismissed or idolized. Okay? Yes, that's all mine. And I consider myself a bit of a philosopher in this world that we live in. So you only call yourself what you believe that you are. And they chose toxic twins. Now, some might say, it's lighthearted, it's not a big deal, it's all in fun. Well, it seems to be a title that they embraced. And they have did more than live up to that title. And they know it. So they embrace it. Anyway, let's go in.
Definitely.
Yeah, so toxic twins isn't a name that's like sticking. It was just something that we came up off of whim, because we usually go by the bells of the ball. But since all these comments have been hinting towards toxic, we just decided to have a little fun with you tonight. But that is not a trademark that we're doing here. No.
Correct.
Yeah, because a lot of people are saying they done came up with this name, Toxic Twins. That sounds like a new YouTube channel about to start. That sounds like a new podcast. That sounds like a new TV show. I mean, honey, I feel like this. That's what it sounds like. And maybe the universe is telling me something. And like you ladies said, maybe I need to capitalize off of it. So maybe that's the universe showing y'all like I'm putting a bug in your ear. You know what I mean? So that's
right.
Just something for me to throw out there to you. You know what I'm saying? Would you say lemons to lemonade? Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yep.
So my very first question I have is for Jeffrey. Okay. So one of the questions is did Andre know about your children and that the fathers were not in their lives during the show? Because we saw on the reunion, it was kind of like he knew nothing about them. Yeah. So can you explain a little bit about that?
Well, of course. I mean, as you guys can see, if you guys have heard me or Dre talk about each other on an interview, which we have not talked really the whole, we haven't been doing interviews. And Dre's always spoke very positively about me in this current life. And there's a reason for that. Not only Dre, but everyone knew this story. I mean, I love my kids. So I know like a lot of people isn't used to people talking about their kids 24/7, but I love my baby. So every chance I got, I spoke about them. I went into detail, even for when the point when.
Of course, you love your children, Jeffrey. I don't think that was ever in question. Don't start the, I don't want to say gaslighting, but don't start the whole pedestalizing of yourself and the things that you do for your kids and I love my children and this, that, and the third. For the most part, 99.999% of people love their children. But you'll get these pedestalizations of oneself, especially Jeffrey. I noticed that Tony did that too with his religion. Let me pedestalize myself with my religion so that you view me a certain type of way. This is how I want the world to view me, as a God-fearing, as a I love my children, as this is what I call the selling of themselves, or the PR campaign. Really is really what it is. But let me stop talking. I'm gonna let her finish. Let's go.
When I decided not to bring an ex, I actually had a friend that the network flown in, a male friend, to speak for me, but they decided they didn't, you just had to have someone like an ex to come. So in the scene that you guys see, Dre sitting with my sister, everything was fully explained there and before. That's why you see my sister saying, like, it's one thing for you to see yourself in it, but do you, saying that you're fine with it, but do you see yourself in it? And I remember him saying, like, well, yeah, like, tell me a little bit more about the fathers. And she goes over everything, which it's very serious story. Like, the story behind the fathers to my kids is very serious. And I think just the network just didn't want to put that out. So that's you guys didn't get to see it. But Dre took all of that and he came back with, you know what? Thank you. Like, this is who I'm picking. This is who I'm with. I don't care about your past. So when you guys hear me saying at the reunion, it was like night and day. He just completely switched up. That is literally facts. Like, I am the sweetest, most honest, straightforward, and even my sister can confirm. I even talked more in detail about the fathers at the reunion, which everyone knew. Everyone on this cast knows. Shout out to Lyndon and Tony, which is why they defend me, because it's like everyone knows this thing. But, I don't look for anyone to stand up for me, to speak for me. I'm truly a woman of God. So, eventually... So I'm not going to like fight with people about, or give information. But I think that you guys deserve to at least know that. Like, he had everything he needed to know. So at the point of meeting my sister and having deep detail, if there was any concerns for him, the finale, you had an opportunity to choose yourself or choose that person. So it really didn't make any sense.
Let me say this. Y'all remember when Dre brung Jeffrey to go meet his sister-in-law or something like that, or his sister or whatever? I think what happened is Dre went back to that same sister and she was like, what? She don't let her kids see their fathers? Oh, hell no. This is not, I didn't like her because she had 3 kids. I really don't like her that she don't let the kids see their father. I think Dre had outside influence, probably by his sister, who kind of confirmed his stance on the whole fathers not being there. And I think that he talked to his sister, he talked to his family, and it was like, look, you don't have kids. So what do you want to do? You want to get in a relationship with a woman who's not going to let you see the kids? You got to pay attention to her patterns. Her patterns is she can't co-parent. She don't have the ability to co-parent. So why would you want to get yourself into that situation? I take Jeffrey, I'll save that, but I think that's really what happened. He went and talked to his family, talked to his sister especially, and they wasn't rocking with the fact that the kids was not seeing the fathers, and therefore Dre was like, you know what? Maybe I didn't see that. I was blinded, because I'm gonna tell you, people can be blind when they're in a situation. It's their friends and family that give them the real. So, because they don't have feelings involved and attached. So I think that he started to change his mind once he talked to his friends and family. But let's go back in.
It didn't make sense to us either, because I know I said in my lives, like, hi, everybody know, the whole world knows about her and her kids.
Yeah.
And, like,
I think he wasn't ready.
No,
yeah.
like, it just...
Yeah, he just wasn't ready, bottom line. And, you don't have to try to find a reason. Just stand on your stuff. You weren't ready. You don't have to look for something. You don't have to make anything up. He's never talked to my children's fathers. He's never gotten anything. I'll never forget me and him going to dinner, and I'm opening up my phone saying, hey, take my phone. Look, like, that's how much I cared about Dre. I wanted him to have everything he needed. And I was like, hey, take my phone. Like, go through everything. See me reaching out. See me showing up. Doing and know, these guys can't even take a FaceTime with their kids. And he's looking at all this information. He's like, you know what? I don't care. I don't care about any of that. So we get to the reunion and it's a whole nother story. So.
Yeah, understood. Thank you for the explanation.
Yeah, sure.
But Dre said that you ghosted him, Jeffrey, what about that? He said you was full of it. So, who is it? Is it Dre or is it Jeffrey? Only them two will really know. But I have caught Jeffrey in a number of lies. The whole Blake situation. She seemed to be lying about that. So her credibility is a lot more shakier than Dre's, in my eyes. Now, some women may ride with Jeffrey because she's a woman, or because they feel like she's right. But in my opinion, her credibility has taken some hits, and I haven't seen Dre's credibility take any hits. So I'm leaning more towards, I'm not saying he's telling the absolute truth, but if I have to lean on someone about telling the truth, I'm gonna lean on Dre, because he hasn't seemed to be a liar. Anyway, let's go in.
Morgan, do you feel like Blake deserves an apology, and do you feel bad for calling him a cancer?
No, no. I'm not sorry. I don't have a problem with Blake. Let me just put that out there. Now we've made amends before we were even done with the show. At the time, that's how I felt, and I'm gonna stand on that. So my problem with Blake was this. Let's back it up to the mixer.
Okay.
I mentioned it at the dinner. I don't think you all got the full story of it. But when I first met Blake at the mixer, it was very quick introduction. He said he had 3 kids and he didn't want any more kids. And I said, okay, nice to meet you. Moving right along. Well, I feel like he took that instance and used it. He tried to weaponize me wanting kids as to, he equated it to me not being happy. I won't be able to be happy until I have children. He began to tell the male members, Morgan doesn't want a man, she just wants kids. He made some kind of silly reference to what happens when I'm 50 years old and I don't have a husband yet. Am I going to be done with having kids then? Just something real ridiculous. And then, basically how he handled me that night. And then a couple times moving forward, I heard him saying it in the gentleman's lounge that I didn't want a man, which is not true. For the record, let's just be clear. If I wanted to have somebody, baby, by now I could have, sweetheart. So I'm big on marriage. I'm big on a family. I was raised in a 2-parent home. My parents have been married for 39 years. I'm super proud of them. So the whole concept of me wanting a kid and not the man is ridiculous. Furthermore, I didn't like what was going on between him and the women. I believe Jeffrey because I was right there on the phone with her when it happened. So yes, I believed her.
Surprise, surprise. You believe your twin, your toxic twin. Let's go on.
So if everyone wants to know why I was going so hard for her, is because I believed her. I didn't like that Blake. I felt like he was toying with those women. I do. He showed up to the boat with 2 matching gifts for 2 of the women. I mean, to each his own. But I don't want no gift that you just done gave to 2 of us. He body shamed a cast member.
At least he gave some women some gifts. What did y'all get? Smashed and dashed? You crapping on Blake for being nice and giving gifts? I think that's a little bit of jealousy. I'm not gonna front. What's wrong with giving gifts? Even if they're the same thing. It shows appreciation. What did Tony give you other than some strokes and some heartache? Like you downing Blake because he showed some appreciation to some women he liked? Absolutely ridiculous. But you will look down on that if they look down on the one thing that they could, and that was that it was the same gift. So what? It's a gift. You get special gifts when you are official and my woman, but at that moment none of them was officially his woman. but he still wanted to show appreciation. So they're going to look down upon the one thing that they possibly could, and that it was the same gift. Very petty, very immature, and all they got was stroking. Anyway, let's go in.
And that was kind of well known throughout. He had some negative things to say about one of the females. And furthermore, nothing that I said wasn't taking place either in the women's lounge or in our group chat. I'm just the only one bold enough to say it. So you guys have nominated me to be this negative whatever person, but trust and believe that there was context behind that conversation.
Every woman on the
chat. It was everything was already said.
Yeah.
Yep. They just never showed anybody else saying it. They just showed me. Oh, and the reason I came with so much energy, negative energy with Blake, is because early on, they tried to get me going on a date with him. And I said, if this was with Blue or Blake, I'm not going. Don't waste my time. Don't waste my outfit. So I sat in the car because apparently it was with one of them. So I sat in the car. I had to wait for another event. I sat in the car for 2 hours. I'm like, well, I guess that was Blake or Blue. I never knew. So fast forward to after the group dinner, when I said, I felt I'm gonna go ahead and rock with my friend on this one. I'm gonna stick beside her because I believe that you told her you didn't care about anybody here for real. Yeah, so they snuck that date up on me, Sabrina. They said, Morgan, you got a date. And I said, with who? And they wouldn't tell me. And I got there, and that's how you know it was a big deal, because Anthony, the head producer, was there. He was like, Morgan, I only need you to go in there and discuss the conversation. You don't. I'm like, Anthony, why are you doing this to me? I don't want to talk to him. I don't want to be here. I can't stand that man. So he insisted that I had the conversation. So
Why do you hate Blake? Why do you hate Blake? Now, she said that it's because he kind of turned her words around and said that she wanted to have kids by any means necessary. But if it's not true, then why give it energy? If it's not true, like I say, people say stuff about me. If I don't believe it and it ain't true, I don't care. I don't care. The only thing that really stings is a bit of truth. Okay? Those are the things that really sting. And in my opinion, I think Blake had a bit of truth in what he was saying about you and about you and kids. It's very obvious you don't have the capability of maintaining relationships. Yes, your parents stayed married, 39 years? You ain't your parents. Okay? You don't have the capability of maintaining a relationship. You and Jeffrey are toxic twins for real. And all of the stuff, and it's not just me, obviously the world has spoken out on these two behaviors, and they came up with toxic twins. It ain't because of me. It's because the world see what I see, and that is women who are incapable of long-term relationships. And all they can do is pat each other on the back and get each other through their trials and tribulations, so they have someone on their team who understands their dysfunction. Okay? And that's what it is. They understand each other's dysfunction. And they're supporting each other through it, because they don't know how to not be dysfunctional. They don't know how to be functional. They don't know how to not be toxic. So the reason why you didn't like Blake is because he told a bit of truth. Let's be real. Let's go in.
I said I love Anthony. Yeah.
No. I love Anthony too. But that's why he was there, because he knew I did not want to go on that date. So they miking me up, and I'm like, I said, the crew, I just want y'all to go ahead and thank me in advance, because this is going to be a real short work day for you all. So it really wasn't nothing to be said to Blake. Again, he and I have made amends. We were cool by the mansion, and
yeah.
Okay. Maybe should I say I was sorry for calling that man a Cancer? I guess I could have I mean, he said it about Jeffrey. Didn't he say that your lies were spreading like a cancer or something? Right. So again, it's just more so let's make Morgan the villain because he said it, and then I basically backfired on him, and then it was so. I mean, I'm sorry.
He said her lies were spreading like a cancer. He didn't call her a cancer. You called him a cancer. There's a big difference. Not just a cancer, malignant cancer. And I don't know if you know this, but people always say cancer is serious. Serious is cancer. It's not something you play with. A lot of people have loved ones who passed from cancer. So it's triggering to a lot of people. So when you call somebody that, it's mean, it's vicious, it's vindictive, it's disgusting, it's tasteless, and it's toxic. What I cannot appreciate is her doubling down on what she said. This is why I called Morgan a psychopath in previous recordings. She has no ability to have remorse. That's a trait of psychopathic people. When you don't have the ability of remorse, to apologize, to admit your wrongs, you're going to always try to forever be right about everything when you're more than halfway wrong about most things. It turns toxic. And for those people, you can't grow with those people. You can't have relationship with those people. You can't even really live with those people. A psychopath, really? Now, I don't expect everybody to agree with me. This is my own diagnosis that I gave her. But go and see the definition and see if she don't check off every box in psychopathic behavior. Okay? Toxic twins, I will co-sign that. Let's go back in.
If I hurt you guys' feelings, I won't say it again.
Do you really mean that apology?
I mean, I feel like
I have to ask child because they like she ain't for real. You gotta let them know, Morgan, because the way that
I mean, I said I wasn't gonna say it again. That's the best that I can at the moment. I can't apologize for something that I said. I either gotta own it, stand by it, or apologize. And in that specific moment, that's how I felt. So
yeah.
Sorry if y'all don't agree with the way that I felt. So
I wonder if Morgan is West African. She looks Nigerian to me. She looks like she's first, second generation Nigerian. She looks very African. This is why a lot of guys probably gravitated towards her. But I wonder if she's Nigerian, a Nigerian American, or maybe first, second, maybe even third generation Nigerian. She looks very West African to me. Not so much African American, but look like her family hasn't been here for very long. Her parents been married for 39 years. That's possible with American parents too, by the way, but my parents were married for 50 years. But she just looks Nigerian to me genetically. Anyway, let's go in.
Yeah. Jeffrey, what were you about to say? I'm sorry.
But I meant what I said. I won't say it again. I will give y'all that. I won't say it again. Okay, people? I won't say it again.
Thank you, Morgan.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, like you guys hear the most from me, and I've always given an open standpoint of communication, and that's why you guys see, to go back to Blake on the boat, I'm like, what's wrong? Like, because I had already told him on the boat, I'm like, look, Blake, I don't like that. Like, it's giving me PTSD from my ex. Don't tell me I'm the one, and then I don't like no. Like, so I'm like, you got to match up, So I didn't understand why he wanted to furthermore talk about it. But Yeah, Blake, like, I just feel like it's blown up more than what it is. And every single lady on this cast has had negative things to say about him. It's just they highlighted Morgan.
Sometimes I think if Prince was a woman, he would look a similar to Jeffrey. I know that's a little weird to say, but she kind of looks like Prince to me. The female version of Prince. Shout out to Prince, man. He was my favorite artist, my favorite musician. And I think his passing was, his anniversary just passed. And it's been what, 8 years? Not 6, I think 8 years or something like that. Shout out to Prince. I just had to say that. Shout out to the legend. But Jeffrey is no legend. Okay, let's be clear. Anyway, let's go in.
Blake was trying to stay in my room at the getaway. Like, Dre had to force him. Dre had to come get his bags. Blake was like, he came laying on my bed. He was like, I'm staying in here with her. Dre was like, get your bags, get out. He was like, no, let me stay like the first night. Dre was like, no. He had to force him. Like, he wanted to stay with me. He didn't want to go and stay with Sue in the bunk beds. He wanted to stay in there. And I'm like, Blake, like, you give them an inch, they take a mile. Like, I know we were cool.
Not the bunk bed. No, not the bunk beds, Jeffrey. I can't stand.
You're too big to be sleeping on anybody's bunk bed, first of all. Oh my God. Oh.
It felt like we were legit cool. Like, he loved me, Morgan. We were all having fun, especially leading up to the getaway. And he was like, this is the fun place. Like, I'm going to be here with her. Dre was like, get your box and get out.
I have so many.
Blake probably did that as a joke. I think it's pretty clear that he was no longer interested in Jeffrey. He made that clear in a lot of his interviews, and I believe him. So, apparently Blake made amends with all of the ladies, so it was joke around time. It's lighten the mood time. And even with the women that you were, beefing with before, you're going to play jokes on them just to lighten the mood, so that they know that, you're no threat, and, you're not, you don't have no animosity. So what better way to mess with Jeffrey head and joke around with her than to say, I'm staying in here. He clearly wasn't trying to get with her. He clearly was with Sue Ann. I mean, when she left, he left. So that showed me everything. But Jeffrey might have taken it like he was serious, but if he did do that, which is questionable, by the way, I think that the brother was really just trying to lighten the mood and kind of do, I don't want to say big brother stuff, or just joking around. That's probably the best way Blake knows how to joke around and lighten the mood, is to do something like that. He ain't the joke telling type of guy. He's the, mess with your head type of guy, so. But Jeffrey want to turn that into something else, like he was really trying to stay with her. I don't believe that. Anyway, let's go in.
By the time we got to the...
But these are not my questions.
By the time we got to the mansion, Blake and I were cool. We were hugged up, laughing. I just kept saying, you know what? I did tell him I was sorry. I said, I'm sorry for what I said about you in the confessional. So yeah, I apologize. But yeah, by the time we got to the mansion, it was all cool, taking pictures. We was hanging out. He's making drinks. Like, no, me and Blake are cool.
Yeah.
I just didn't like what he was doing at that moment.
Yeah, we did see y'all cool.
So she did apologize. So shout out to Morgan for apologizing. I just wondered if she said no in the beginning because she want to be queen bee of the sisterhood. You telling the audience one thing, but you're in the background doing another thing. You apologize to Blake, and that's commendable, but why are you telling everybody else, no, I said what I said, this, that, and the third? That's part of that sisterhood crap. I'm going to just call it what it is. I think she apologized to Natasha behind the scenes. But publicly, she don't want to do that. It's like giving off. Anyway, let's go back in.
At the getaway, and I was like, okay, they're cool, because y'all was taking like selfies and stuff like that, so we were like, okay. So
Right.
just to let you guys know, in the chat, like, I see some questions popping up, but just to let you know, in order for your questions to get on the screen, it's going to have to be a super chat. So my next question is actually going to be to Jeffrey, and since this question is a super chat and it is to Jeffrey, I'm going to ask the question. So Another Round would like to know, Jeffrey, when did Andre make the comment you stated on the reunion, paraphrase, how can we parent our children if I'm being a stepfather to your children?
That was one of his, after the show, this dinner that we went to was about 2 weeks after the show, because actually 2 days after we filmed, Dre got on an airplane and went to Colombia for 2 weeks. Immediately after filming. So after he came back, we went to dinner.
Oh, so he's Colombian. That's where that accent is coming from. Colombia. So he's Afro-Latina from Colombia. I'm assuming that's where he's from. I could be wrong. He could have been on vacation for all I know. But Colombia, they have there's a large Afro-Latina community there. And it would make sense. That's where he got the accent from. So maybe that's where he's from. Let's go.
And that was one of his things. He was like, Dre is ready to have a kid like yesterday. And he was like, listen, that's one of the things. Like, he's like, I know it sounds selfish, but like, I want to have a kid. And like, if we're together, I'm going to have to focus on being a stepdad to your kids before we have our kid. And
first of all, let me say this to Dre. There are some beautiful women in Colombia, bruh. Why aren't you having family there? I don't understand. There's brothers now in the States going to Colombia. Medellin and places like that. Why don't you find your wife or your kid's mother in Colombia? Maybe that's why he went back.
And like, I knew that wasn't right. I remember telling Morgan, she was like, no, like, it's just it doesn't sound right. And how we ended up parting, like, after I opened up my phone and I showed Dre everything, and he's like, I don't care about your past. I remember calling my sister, crying. I'm like, listen, I showed him everything, and she was like, this doesn't feel right. It feels like he's like praying. Like, it's like no one should emotionally make someone go through all of that. It's like, I told him that night, I was like, it feels like you're looking for something wrong. Like, I feel like you're forcing me. Like, over time, I will tell you different things, but you can't sit me down and say, tell me everything that you've ever been through since you were a kid right now. Like, he wanted me to do everything that night. And I'm like, whoa, like, let me gradually, like, for example, with Mark first about my Crohn's, because we had a natural he never was like, tell me these things, Jeffrey, right now. He didn't care. And like, if you're the new sheriff in town, why are you so focused on the fathers of my kids and what happened in the relationship? Like, he was focused on the relationship. Why did we break up? Like, I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk. What? Like, so it was so much, but I did give him that information because I cared about him. So I did. I don't delete anything. So I went back years ago to show him like things, because that's how much I cared about him. And the way we ended that dinner, which is basically him saying, you know what, I don't care about your past. Of course, this is before the reunion. So this might have been like, I don't know, the end of August, maybe 2 weeks after we wrapped the show. And he was like, I don't care about your past, but listen, I'm not ready to be like exclusive. Let's just take our time. Like, we don't need to tell people what we're doing. And over time, I'm like, I'm too old for this. Like, we didn't just finish a show, become one, and, say all those beautiful things to each other to then say, oh, let's just slow down. Slow down on what? Like, let's date. Like, what is it? Like, it just, bottom line.
Well, I would have to agree with Jeffrey on this one. look, y'all went through the process. Y'all chose each other at the decision. Why do you need to slow down now? You pretty much know everything. You know the kids are not a part of their father's life. You know I have 3 kids. You know I've chosen you. You've chosen me. Why take that moment and slam on the brakes all of a sudden? You know, unless you were doing this just for TV. If we really chose each other after everything is said and done, why are we slowing down now? It doesn't make sense. So this one, I'm going to have to agree with Jeffrey on. I wouldn't understand if a woman did that with me. And I understand why Jeffrey don't understand why Dre did that with her. Like, we just went through this whole process. Now, the show tapes, from what I understand, 6 weeks. So, you know, you go through 6 weeks with each other, get to know each other. You go through the process, you choose each other, and then you should hit the gas pedal, if nothing else. You should hit the gas pedal after you make the decision, because then you're pretty much a couple. This is my girl, this is my man. You're pretty much a couple at that point after you make the decision. Hit the gas after that. If you had reservations, you don't make the decision to choose her. You see what I'm saying? So I have to agree with Jeffrey on this one. Let's go back in.
Line is Dre just wanted to find out, like, what you guys hear me saying at the reunion, because I was completely shocked. So I didn't get where he got the father's keeping from the kid thing from, because where is that information? This is something.
He got that from his sister. His sister had a big problem with that. Again, that's just my guess. I don't know for sure. Maybe his friends, maybe his family. I'm thinking it was his sister that he talked to, that he brought to dinner that one time. He told her the situation, and she probably flipped out and actually helped to change his mind about that. But that's just my guess. Let's go in.
In his head. If anything, Dre told me, hey, you need to put that man on child support. Like, that's the real. He's like, what are you doing? You're not even, like, when I showed him everything that I've gone through, which I won't say certain things because of respect out of my kids. But he just, if anything, that's the information he gave me. So it was just kind of, we didn't talk after that. And I think like a week before the reunion, he sent me a text saying, hi, Jeffrey. And I just didn't answer because I felt like, wait, why are you reaching out a week before the reunion? Like, we haven't been talking. And I'm like, I think it made me feel like, oh, you're trying to, maybe smooth things over. So by the time we get to the reunion, I won't tell what happened. Like,
Child, I got so many questions. Okay. All right. So thank you for that super chat. Another round. Morgan. So many are saying that you wanted to change the narrative about how you were portrayed on the show, and that's why you apologized to Natasha. Did you really mean the apology towards Natasha that you did on your Instagram page?
I just want everyone to know one thing about me. Good or bad, right or wrong, I'm going to always own up to who I am. That never changes.
Do I have to even say anything? Do I? You're going to always own up to your stuff? Really? Really? I'm not going to even respond. I'm going to just say, really? Let's move on.
Changed. If I'm wrong about something, I can admit I'm wrong. Yeah. And if I'm right, then it's going to take a lot to convince me that I'm not right. When it comes to what I said about Natasha, it was horrifying to watch myself talk about her like that. Honestly, truly, I can handle a lot of the negative comments. That week I couldn't. I was really emotional and disappointed in myself. Um, and for that, Natasha, I'm just so sorry. You didn't deserve.
Now, this is one thing I noticed with Morgan is that she's very sentimental with other women. This is the part about being in the sisterhood. She has sympathy for other women, not so with men. She don't have that same energy and empathy and remorse and regret when it comes to the men. Blake, she did say she apologized. It was probably a half apology, and wanted to tell her sisterhood that she said what she said and she meant it at the time, and this, that, and the third. Uh, with the Nair situation, I don't remember her apologizing to her ex about that. She didn't seem remorseful at the time. With women, I feel empathy. I was wrong. With men, F them. Okay? Even if I'm wrong, I'm not going to admit it. Morgan, buy a dog. Or you should marry another woman. Because those are only people you care about, which is what it looks like in my opinion. You only care about other women. And that's fine. If that's how you rock, that's how you rock. But you should only be with and marry someone that you have empathy for and sympathy for and remorse for. You don't respect men. That's why men shouldn't rock with you. This is why I've been so hard on you. You only have that sympathy for other women. And that does us no good. If you love women that much and you have empathy for them that much, you should marry a woman. Let's move on. And adopt a child. There's a lot of children out there that need adoption, but I don't want to do that to those kids. So never mind the adoption, okay? Because I'm not sure how you're going to treat those kids. Unless it's a little baby girl. Only get girls. Don't get any boys. You will damage them. Okay? I want happiness for you. Trust and believe, I do. But I don't see you making any male, child, man, teenager, whatever, happy and healthy. You don't love us, then stay away from us. Let's continue.
That for me. I don't know what got into me. I think it was, like I said on my apology, like just emotions. I was going through so much with Tony, and it was just like one thing after the next, one thing after the next. Now, mind you, we had just came back from the mansion where he just embarrassed me in front of everybody. And I am petty, so a part of me wanted to embarrass him too, but I directed it way too much at Natasha. And for that, I am truly sorry. You don't have to never worry about me saying sorry if I'm not sorry. But yeah, a lot of the other weeks, most of the other weeks, I can handle it. I got pretty thick skin. It's one thing when people are saying something about me that's not true. I can laugh about it. But it's another thing when people are seeing a side of me that I'm not proud of. So that one was really hard for me. And again, Natasha, I'm truly sorry.
One thing she said is, when someone says something to me that's not true, I can laugh about it. But why didn't you laugh about what Blake said to you? Huh? Why didn't you laugh about what Blake said to you? If it's not true. Instead, you got deep into your feelings. You just told on yourself. I just want you to know that. Okay, it's always what I suspected. It stung because there's truth into it. That's why. If it was a lie, you would have laughed it off. You and Blake would never been in a beef. You just told on yourself, sweetheart. Let's move on.
And I hope you can forgive me.
Respect. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh Lord. Jeffrey, Andre said in one of the scenes, he was like, I saw Jeffrey kids before. I've seen the kids. Did he actually meet your kids, or did he see them like in a picture? Like, did he spend time with them? Was he ever around them?
Yeah, so no. I mean, Dre's never met my kids. He saw them on a phone. He's seen several pictures of the kids. No man is meeting my children unless I know that's my husband. Like, I can't take that risk. It was me and my 14-year-old watching the show and then seeing, celebrating for her mommy and then seeing the reunion. So that's an example as to why I'm very, very, very hesitant, which is why I took my time on the show. I wasn't like the first guy when he tells me everything I want to hear, and just say, no, I'm going to take my time and you date properly. So, no, Dre's seen pictures of my children, but never has he met them. No.
Right. Okay. Morgan, when you said that you needed to talk to Tony 6 weeks ago, a lot of people are saying that, or was thinking you were pregnant. Was that true?
So the reason that the 6 weeks even came up, Tony and it was time for our segment, and Tommy asked Tony, where y'all with it? And Tony tells Tommy, well, I haven't spoken to Morgan in 6 weeks. And I looked at him and I said, oh, you've been counting? And he said, yeah, we got into some things. Him and I got into a really heated debate. I was going through a lot at the time, and he was just nowhere to be found. And I really needed him. Even if it was just a shoulder to cry on, whatever, I needed him and he wasn't there. So when you saw me walk away, that's where the whole 6 weeks came from, which is I needed to talk to you 6 weeks. And we hadn't spoken because I had blocked them. So right. Production knows what they're doing. They purposely left out where the 6 weeks even came from. So yeah, he definitely said he hadn't spoken to me in 6 weeks, and that's why I slammed the door on him and said I needed to talk to you 6 weeks ago.
Child, everybody was like, she pregnant. I said, well, I'm gonna ask her. You gonna hear it from the horse's mouth.
Say what they're gonna say. Right.
So now everybody can kill that assumption. Yes. My gosh. Okay, Jeffrey. And this is a little touchy, so it's entirely up to you if you want to answer this or not. But you did tell Andre about your illness, and you told Mark Anthony about your illness. A lot of people are wondering, did you tell Andre about it? Did Andre know? Did y'all have a discussion about it?
Yeah, we talked about it off camera. Me and Dre. Yeah.
Okay, well, there y'all go. Okay, because Andre was acting like, and this just not me, he was just acting like he just didn't know a lot of stuff. I was like, how's she gonna tell that? That's another question. I'm just gonna wait. Let me keep my.
Well, I will say to that, you're truly watching the same show that me and Morgan has watched. I have all these pretty heavy titles coming from Andre. I'm a saint, queen, wife, empress. I feel like for people to receive those kinds of titles, there's a very big reason. Dre had everything he needed to know, even me personally opening up a diary basically and saying, here. But I will never do that again. I will tell you that, because I should not have to do that. Everything needs to flow organically. I don't need to sit down in 24 hours or 3 hours and go over every single thing that's ever taken place in my life just to date someone. No.
Understood. Morgan, when you brought up Natasha to Tony over lunch that you guys were having, it was said it had already been handled between you and Tony, like y'all talked about it off screen. So why did you feel the need to bring it up on screen?
Because Natasha had already told the producers that it had happened. And I didn't hear that word of mouth. I mean, I didn't hear that from the horse's mouth, so I could be wrong. But the news was circling, and it didn't just come from Tony, which was she had told the producers, and she was planning on dropping the bomb at the reunion. So I wanted to get ahead of the fire, which was, I knew this was all going on. So by the time that we got to the reunion, wouldn't be any surprises on my end. That's why I said I'll be the last one. May look like a fool, but it still ended up looking that way. Anyway, so yeah, I was just trying to get ahead of the bomb dropper that was going to take place at the reunion, and I wanted it to be known that I knew.
Right.
That's interesting. You wanted to get ahead of it, and you wanted it to be known that you knew. Could it be that you were trying to steal some fire, steal some attention from Natasha by letting it be known then? You could have easily just said at the reunion, yeah, I already knew, and diffused it at the reunion. So why didn't you just do that? You wanted to steal the spotlight from Natasha. Now, I just find that Natasha was a bit messy herself. Why would she tell producers? Why would she tell producers what happened between her and Tony unless she was trying to blow up the entire spot? Which is what Tony suspected she was trying to do. And Tony did not like that idea of her trying to blow up the spot, which is why he did not respond to a lot of her texts and messages. Why are you being messy, Natasha? If the world knows, it's pretty much your entire fault at this point. I'm going to take away some of the blame from Morgan, only 50%. But she has to hold the other 50%. And the reason I say that is because if Natasha don't tell producers, then Tony don't feel a need to tell Morgan, and Morgan don't feel a need to steal shine and tell the world. If Natasha keep her mouth shut, it doesn't come out. And I'm going to tell you, in Ready to Love, I'm sure there are a lot of smash situations the public is not aware of. Okay? Because people kept their mouth shut. There are a lot of situations where people smashed and we don't know about it. But Natasha wanted to be messy. This is her own mess that she created. And wherever there's drama, Morgan loves to be the center of that attention. So she decided to steal this moment for a dramatic moment and put it in her catalog as being, the Morgan saga. She spills the beans of Tony sleeping with Natasha. It's reality TV, y'all. What else can I say?